It's like a wind that blows through the deepest parts of our minds and our hearts. Who are you, Jesus? Well, who do you say that I am? My name's David Woodall with the United Church of Canada and the Emsdale Pastoral Charge. We have questions when life sideswipes us and we don't know what's going on. The only thing we know is life does not look so good. Who are you, God? Where are you, God? Who are you, the Israelites asked as their baby boys were torn from their grasp and killed before their eyes. This was in the time of Pharaoh, when Pharaoh was afraid of a baby being born, and he ordered that all the boys be killed before 2 years of age. Where are you, God, when accidents claimed the lives of loved ones? When indigenous children were buried in unmarked graves? When floods and fires destroyed our homes and our livelihoods? Who are you, God? Who are you, Jesus? Who do you say that I am? Some people brought a blind man and begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. Then he spit in the man's eyes and put his hands on him, and Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" And then once again he placed his hands on his eyes, and the man could see. What is it that we can see and understand? This is the question that lies at the heart of faith, of spirituality. Spirituality is a powerful force in this world, a powerful force for good, for hope, for justice, for growth, for us individually and for us as a common humanity. When people encounter this spirituality, it is so powerful that the closest thing they can equate it to is the overwhelming presence of what must be an actual physical presence. And we give this presence individual names, as if it's some version of Susan or Robert, because we can only grasp reality in the ways that we can understand. But instead of naming this presence Susan or Robert, we use God or Allah or Jesus or mindfulness. By whatever name we use, we are giving voice to and identifying this powerful spiritual force that shapes us and creates and shapes every human being. Regardless of age or life situations, sometimes it all comes down to this one basic question. And this answer to the question is the most important answer in the world. Who do you say that I am? William Barclay writes about Jesus. He said Jesus knew for certain that things could not go on much longer. The opposition was gathering to strike. The problem confronting Jesus was this: had he had any effect at all? Had he achieved anything? Had anyone discovered who he really was? If he had lived and taught and moved amongst people and no one had glimpsed God, the powerful presence of the Spirit, if no one had glimpsed God in him, then all his work had gone for nothing. So in this moment, Jesus put all things to the test. He asked his disciples what people were saying about them. And he heard from them the popular rumors and reports. And then came a breathless silence, and he put the question which meant so much: who do you say that I am? Now, unless we're truly remarkable people, we never see everything clearly all at once. Who would have known that my life has taken the path it has? Who would have known that the princess would find this baby boy in an Egyptian river? And who would have known that this baby boy would become Moses? And who ever thought that a blind man could see? Jesus asked the blind man, "Do you see anything?" He looked up and said, "No, I see people. They look like trees walking around." Once more, Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes, and then his eyes were opened, his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Jesus and his disciples went on to the villages around Caesarea Philippi. On the way, he asked them, "Who do people say that I am?" Well, they replied, "Some say John the Baptist. Others say Elijah, and still others one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say that I am?" down across the centuries, everyone at some point grapples with that same question. And usually it's connected to some glimmer of spirituality in their lives. The first moment of love, the birth of a child, a breathtaking view, caring for another person, being cared for ourselves, some magnificent concert, a worship experience, some moment that is like a shaft of sunlight penetrating the clouds. And we ask, what is this? Is there more to life? Am I experiencing something I never felt before? How can I explain this other that seems to be part of me? Or in the words of our story today, who do you say that I am? And the answer to this is an individual answer. You're the only one who can answer the question. Some groups like to convert you to using their own language and their own rituals. And this seems to be not only to be a waste of time, but to negate the power of the Spirit, to negate the inclusive nature of the Spirit, and to fly in the face of love. That attempt to make you like me, to suggest that only my spirituality is legitimate, has resulted in some terrible things. Residential schools and unmarked graves spring to mind, pickup trucks running over Muslim families. The list is too long. Who do you say that I am? It's not a group answer. The answer to this is your own answer. And no one else can answer this question for you. It's a question of the heart. And only your heart knows the answer. And it's a big answer. And the answer to this question is significantly different than choosing what color shirt to wear. After Peter gave his answer, Jesus said, well, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. In other words, our answer affects how you and I live and act and interact in this world. Spirituality is a powerful force, a force for good, for hope, for justice, for growth for us individually, and for us as a common humanity. It's not a recipe for peaceful living until all of us can live in peace. But today, that is not the case. How can I be at peace when there's no peace in this world? When men and women and children are beaten and abused and killed? There's a spiritual anger that rises up when injustice and hurt occurs. How can I have happiness when sorrow upon sorrow are piled on my neighbors? When I see that they are struggling or hungry or homeless, when I look at our children and I watch them struggle, when I look at our environment and see it slowly crumble, when I look at the nastiness of discrimination either by race or religion or sexual orientation or misinformation or bigotry, how can I sleep in peace when there are people who have no place to sleep tonight? A song by the Strathdees had this one line in it, and it's always stuck with me. Sometimes I wish my eyes hadn't been open. Sometimes I wish I could no longer see. We know what love for this world is like. We know all the joy and the pain that comes from that love. We know all the laughter and anger that love brings. This powerful spiritual force, which we all encounter, takes different forms in different places. Greta Thunberg challenging the powerful, homeless advocates reaching out in support, food banks, women's shelters. We cannot be content because we have this restlessness within us, which says that this world can be better, and we know it can be better. We know we can do something about it. How can I have joy when I think of all the lonely and frightened people lost in a world so big that it doesn't know how to care anymore? Who do you say that I am? We answer, not through false pretenses or sound bites, or in response to some bribe of an afterlife, or seeking an easy way in this world. We're not seeking a blind peace, blissfully disregarding the world in which we live. Within Christianity, we call it, yes, I believe. You can give it whatever phrase you want. This is the kind of faith and confidence that comes from fulfilling all the potential that we were created with. It's the kind of peace that comes from the deep satisfaction that we live this life in love, service, and hope. It's the answer that comes from being part of the creative goodness that is this gift of life. To create chaos. To create from chaos beauty and joy. To create from the tears of a child a smile full of hope. To show a person lost in the world of self-indulgence that there is more to a fulfilling way of life. To bring all folks everywhere vision and laughter and possibilities, to awaken the sleeping spirit within us. Who do you say that I am? It's not a group answer. The answer to this is your own answer. And now, that question hangs in the air. Who do you say that I am? It's your turn.